So here's the first story, which is amazing. This is the Sky News website. Trump set to announce US will agree trade deal with UK. This is reports. And when this, I think the phrase is dropped last night and this morning, I thought this is the biggest story of the year so far. It's a crowded field.
And it's VE Day. This is like the Allies are back together again, boys.
This is massive. It's come out of nowhere, Wilfred.
We see, I'm trying to work out what is it that we would be allowed to export to the US, because I'm in the food business, and at the moment it is almost impossible to export food to the US. Really, really difficult. So, you know, if it is to do cars, there is, you know, the sort of cars that we will be exporting ain't going to be fashionable in the next couple of years. And so therefore you have a deal that is worthless.
Pipe
Why
down.
do you
Cars
want
are a
to
big
send
deal.
sausages to the US?
Well, I tell you what, our food is much, much better quality than they have in the US. Far, far, far superior.
The cheese is rubbish, we know that.
The
Cheese is made of plastic. Let's get that on the record.
And their chickens are full of goodness knows what.
But also there are a lot of Americans are getting to the idea that actually getting food from the UK is going to be a much better standard. So I want to see food as part of this deal.
I've got to say, I think you're talking into the wind, because culturally, the Americans will spend a lot on top-end cars, and they do spend a lot, billions of pounds on British top-end manufactured cars. I think food, they're used to cheap, fast. It's all about bulk. It's about quantity over quality.
It's changing.
And if we insist they take our food, we have to take their trash. Yeah. And I don't want no trash in my supermarket.
But I'm sure people in this country they won't buy it. They won't buy that food. Because at the moment, I tell you what, there's a lot of food that we import into this country from Vietnam, from Thailand. And I guarantee you this, a lot of the chicken sandwiches that you're probably getting in food service, it's probably coming from Thailand and you wouldn't even know about it.
Well, OK. This is probably a question for another day. But if this deal comes through, people who voted Brexit will be able to say, in a week, we've had India and the USA. This shows it was the right decision for this country.
No,
I always thought it was right.
Well, there we are.
I always thought it was right.
At last it's coming good, Tessa.
It's just a question of time.
And you Remainers will have to publicly apologise.
You're yewing at me. This man is yewing at me about being a Remainer. I'm out there and proud. I remain a Remainer.
I know you're a Remainer.
Lord Billimore, who is the inventor of Cobra Beer, and he helped broker the deal with India, was very clear, excuse me, it is a bad thing, Brexit. This is a silver lining, but actually it doesn't compensate for the damage done, that wrecking ball that was Brexit. OK, well, this is a little slither of good news.
Deliberately started
By the way,
off,
what I love
Jeremy?
best is that we've got...
Yeah. When I said for another day, you notice how she ignored that.
I'm off. You've wound me up now. I'm on a steam
come in
train.
on another day, because I know we're going to need to see what this deal is and then work out whether Brexit was a good idea. But we should also talk about other things happening in Trumpland. So first, in an interview yesterday, Trump complained that America doesn't get enough credit for winning World War II. Let's have a look.
There was no major factor like us. We won the war, and we won it with the help of others. But everybody was celebrating but the United States of America. And I said, you know, I think it's time that we start celebrating victory. And that's what we're doing.
Oh, my God.
Tessa, head in hands.
Yeah, head in hands.
Just mention us. Mention us.
There is an element of truth.
A large element of truth.
When Pearl Harbor happens, there is no man more delighted on planet Earth than Winston Churchill. He had studied Roosevelt more than a lover studies their other. OK, he was absolutely obsessed with getting that man to agree to come to war against the Nazis. And it was Pearl Harbor what did that, and it was the American heft, military, munitions, etc., that sealed the deal. That was the day, the end of the beginning.
Listen, I've seen Private Ryan, so I understand that there's an American tale to be told, and we've told ourselves British tales. Of course we have. But let's share it a bit, surely, Wilfred, don't you think? He should mention us.
Well, he should, because actually it was our initial resistance that actually allowed to give them the time to sort of come in. So if Britain hadn't resisted, didn't want to actually, choose the easy route out, we wouldn't be here where we are today. So I think that is probably more important than the Americans actually joining.
So also there's a video just completely separate, but it's the Secret Service who've obviously had a bad year because they were the ones responsible for essentially allowing that assassination attempt on Trump that nearly succeeded. But they're aggressive now, my goodness. So you'll see here Ivanka Trump is walking and a man comes... Now, we'll show it to you again. So the man with grey hair is being shoved by the bulky guy in the light mauve T-shirt. Here we go. So watch the man in grey hair here. And he's trying to get... No messing.
Well, I tell you what type, because I saw this on TikTok the other day, but the other guy who got pushed, he pushed the security guard out of the way.
He sort of said, he didn't realise he was security, and he obviously wanted to have a chat with Ivanka. And there we go. I guess fair enough.
He did. I saw the guy, the guy was pushing, and then he pushed him and thought, you don't mess about with these bodyguards, and he pushed him out of the way.
It was pushed into next week, is what one guy said. Just a side note. That dress? How do you enjoy eating dinner in a dress like that?
Well, I didn't even notice the dress. I don't look at those things.
Of course not. I forgot.
And high heels.
We avoid cancellation by not commenting.
I'm just saying that was a remarkable feat of tailoring.
So what is it? It's too cinched at the waist, is it, or what?
It's a suction.
Suction?
Yeah, that's what it looked like. It'd been put on with a vacuum pack.
We can clearly watch this for the next week, this clip. There's so much going on in it. So,
imagine having dinner. She's come out of dinner and she hasn't got a little pot belly. There's nothing there. What does she have?
Is that Jared Kushner with her?
That's her husband. So who knows?
What I would say is the security guard should have had something on more obvious that is a security guard.
Why?
No, I agree. I think they need badges. Yeah.
Why?
Well,
if you're an innocent bystander, you just know actually this is part of the security detail.
Not just
a lump.
Do you think
that man roving around with a manila folder was just innocent? Or was he actually suspicious?
No, but I wouldn't have known that guy who pushed him.
I wouldn't have known that, and he could have fallen and broken his neck, like in the sort of the train driver.
That's
incident.
Trump's America.
Yeah. Well, okay. Look, while we're on Trump's America, Trumpland, as we call it, we'll mention the interview that Joe Biden gave this week, his first since leaving office, and it was a bit of a coup for the Today programme on Radio 4. So it was a British interview, and he was asked what he makes of the current scenes in the Oval Office, and this is what Biden had to say.
What did you make of those scenes in the Oval Office? President Trump and President Zelensky?
I found it sort of beneath America, the way that took place. And the way we talk about now that, it's just the Gulf of America. Maybe we're going to have to take back Panama. Maybe we need to acquire Greenland. Maybe Canada should be. What the hell's going on here? What president ever talks like that?
So, that sounds like fair comment from Joe Biden, who's been, of course, insulted by Trump a lot. But the White House responded in no uncertain terms. So this is their spokesperson, Stephen Chung. Response on X. This is the White House here. Joe Biden is a complete disgrace to this country and the office he occupied. He's clearly lost all mental faculties, and his handlers thought it'd be a good idea for him to do an interview and incoherently mumble his way through every answer. Sadly, this feels like abuse. That's the White House, Tessa.
Yeah, it's a race to the bottom, but some of it has to be laid at the feet of Joe Biden. He was the one prevaricating as an OAP in office, not moving aside to give Kamala Harris any iota of a chance to save us from the wrecking ball that we're currently experiencing. And just a side note, and it is a bit uncomfortable, I think, generally for all liberally inclined Britons and the current incumbents of number 10. Bizarre, no, that Joe Biden, who's meant to be more akin to the Labour Party as a Democrat, would never have given us this deal that we're going to see delivered today. And actually, it's come from Trump, the Britain-loving Trump.
And also, Biden said, I don't do pardons, and he pardoned his son, who was a criminal.
Yeah,
and
course.
That kind of was a bad one.
Watching all of that, it's like watching something of a bygone age. politics has totally shifted, and that style of politics is no longer relevant to the age that we're in.
It might come back. What do you mean, people actually thinking before they say something?
Well, I just think what it is, it's more out there. It's laid. All the stuff that would have happened behind doors is now.
Yeah, you're right, and maybe that's good. Maybe
Do you
that's good.
approve of that grotesque, sort of insulting ageist?
No, it's not about whether I approve or not. It's that what I like is the fact that it's all out there, rather than these things are happening behind closed doors.
I quite like. I agree with him slightly. I think we now see the workings.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of amazing.
It's like making sausages.
Trump, instead of having a row with Zelensky behind the scenes, Trump has one with him in front of everybody.
It's so wrong, because once you put that level of coarseness into the public debate...
Well, why is it coarse? That's honesty.
Oh, my God, it was horrific. It was
It was horrific.
bullying.
But it is horrific. It's not very pleasant to watch. But as a viewer, you can make up your own mind.
No, because as a viewer, if you are young, impressionable, or even old and impressionable, you think, if the guy who's the incumbent... If the guy who's in the Oval Office can behave like that, so can I.
No, I don't believe that.
All right.
Put it out there.
OK, fascinating. That is our little summary of what's happening in Trumpland.